return. He was proud, once a scout, forever a scout. Are you ready? Educate. Estás listo, Moscae allá, listos para la vida. Ready for life. A little hunger with
Welcome back from your lunch conference. I hope you had a fun interaction. Welcome back, and please find your seat. Find your seat quickly so that we can begin an exciting afternoon session that is looking ahead into our future. Welcome back. Please find your seat. Find your seat so that we can begin the afternoon session. Thank you for the wonderful discussions that you've been having. We shall continue them shortly during the coffee break. Our floor managers, please help get anyone who is still outside the plenary so that we can commence. Dear conference, we have spent the morning looking at trends and challenges affecting the world and exploring the next strategy for scouting that will become Scouting's North Star to tackle those global trends and challenges over the next 10 years. Now, 10 years, a decade, that's of course a very long time. So this afternoon, we are going to zoom in on immediate future, the next triennium, from 2024 to 2027. Let's start our discussions on the next triennium plan. We know you have all been engaged in the conference pre-engagement sessions on the draft triennial plan. Many may have been involved in the creation of the draft plan itself, since this triennial plan drafting process was the most diverse and participative ever. So with that in mind, I'm very excited to introduce to you the speakers for our next session, Mori Cheng and Daiana Neil from the World Scout Committee, who provided oversight to the triennial planning process. We'll also welcome with them David Berg, Deputy Secretary General of the World Scout Bureau, who will reflect with Mori and Daiana on the ideas behind the plan and how it aims to shape World Scouting and support NSOs over the next 3 years. To set the scene, let's take a look at our triennial plan video released in the last couple of weeks to get us started.
Welcome to the next big moment in Scouting's journey as we unfold the map of the World Organization of the Scout Movement's new planning framework and triennial plan. We're not just planning our next steps, we're charting a direction for our future. This new WASM planning framework and triennial plan marks a major milestone in our journey. Aligned with our 9-year strategy for Scouting, it defines our actions to achieve our strategic vision. Driven by extensive research and the shared aspirations of over 57 million Scouts worldwide, this framework is designed by volunteers from around the world to guide our progress, strengthen our unity, and make the best use of our resources. The Triennial Plan is all about results and draws its objectives from the WASM planning framework. Our goals are geared towards the changes we want to make and act as waypoints on our map towards achieving the strategy for Scouting. These goals are designed to encourage growth and resilience while being flexible enough to meet the diverse needs across the movement by focusing on the 7 strategic priorities. By setting clear, outcome-focused objectives for each of our 7 strategic priorities and directly connecting them to our strategy's vision and impact statements, we'll create lasting change for young people globally. As we move our Scouting efforts forward, a fresh and unified monitoring and evaluation system will keep us on track, which will help us see how far we've come. This approach will promote greater collaboration and quality assurance across the Scout movement. It focuses on real impact by looking at long-term results and key information, all based on data from sources inside and outside of the movement. In Scouting, you're never alone. To help everyone get ready for the adventure, we've revamped our strategic planning, monitoring, and evaluation resources. Check out our new implementation guide. It's like your very own compass, packed with useful tips and expert advice to help you navigate the strategy for scouting in your NSO. Plus, our consultants are always prepared and ready to team up with you on your journey. They're trained to give you the right support and expertise to help you customize your plans and tackle any challenges that come your way. As we begin this adventure together, every step you make with this new plan not only improves your local scouting efforts, but also drives the global scout movement towards a brighter future. Thank you for joining us on this awesome adventure. Stay curious, stay prepared, and as always, keep scouting.
Hello, hello!
Hello, conference. Oh, look at the lights. My God.
All right. Good afternoon, conference. How are you?
Good afternoon! Okay, there's a more lively conference than we're expecting.
I'm sure they can do more noise, right?
Right, we're going to have a little campfire chat. Well, we cannot make fire here, but we brought some bricks at least to talk a bit about the next triennial plan. This morning, we reflected together on the long term, on the strategy for scouting that is being proposed for the next 10 years. Now we're going to zoom in on what's going to happen in the more immediate future. Now, before I dive into the what exactly it is that we're proposing to focus on for the next 3 years, I'd like in the first place to recognize the incredible work that has been done by everybody who has been involved in the triennial planning process. Over the last 6 months, hundreds of volunteers and staff from across the regions and the world level have contributed to develop a new triennial plan built on the strategy for scouting and focused on our future and the unity of the movement. Can I please ask a warm round of applause for all these hundreds of people who collaborated already? Now, to kick things off, before we move to the what, let's talk a bit about how this plan came to be. And behind us you will see Jesper, who is live drawing about our conversation. So you'll see all kinds of inspirational things popping up, if you wonder what was behind. But going back to how this plan was developed. So Daiana, we heard a lot already about the unprecedented collaboration and the inclusivity of how this plan came to be. Can you talk a bit more about how the process to create a plan unfolded?
Sure. I mean, it was a very, very collaborative effort, right? So there were many people involved in this building of this triennial plan. We have scouts, adults leaders, volunteers from regional or world levels. It was super nice, right? So, as I said before, we have regional volunteers, world volunteers. We were all working in this workshop. And there were around 150 participants from all the corners of the world, represented in all the regions. So it was super nice to see voices from different parts, and to contribute, give feedbacks, and reflect on what you have here. That is the draft for the triennial plan that we need to discuss and approve, hopefully, in this conference.
All right. So I'm sure all of us here in this room have seen already a number of plans of WUSM. You'll all for sure have seen and given feedback on a regional plan, maybe on a previous world plan. So Daiana, in your view, what makes this plan different than all the others?
Well, this was super particular plan because it was the most inclusive plan ever to build a World Triennial Plan. So it was an online workshop that we created, and as I said before, we involved people, 150 participants from different corners, so it was the most inclusive one. Also, another important thing that it's kind of new here we are going to have like a set or a library of objectives to put in place and to work on during the next 10 years. And what is different here as well, and I'm going to tell you like a personal story about that. When I was international commissioner, you know, in my NSO, I remember that talking to my NSO leadership saying, okay, we have the regional plan and we have the world plan and we have like many surveys around to answer how we are achieving those plans. So, and this time, we are going to put everything on under the same umbrella. So this library of objectives are going to help the regional and world plan. So, of course, there are going to be some differences in each region, but mainly we are going to have the same path and the same way and the same common understanding of what we want to achieve in the next 3 years and also in the next 10 years as well worldwide. So it's going to be easier as well for NSO to implement and to adapt the different changes that we're going to put in place. So hope it's useful, and changes are always good, I think.
Thank you, Daiana. Now, Mori, I've heard it a lot already and read it in the documents. Like, we say this plan has outcome-focused objectives instead of like concrete actions. That sounds like also a bit different. Like, can you explain what that actually means, like outcome-focused?
Sure. I think when we look at outcome-focused objectives, you will see in this particular triennial plan, we're taking really one step further and changing all our objectives from activity-based or project-based to really seeing the outcome and the results that we want to create in the 3 years or like in the 9 years. So you wouldn't see like in the draft objectives of the triennial plan, you wouldn't see like really small items that we really want to do, but we focus on the bigger picture as to what are the results and the outcome that we want to create. Let me just put this in an example, like let's say wood batch. In our draft triennial plan, we no longer talk about we want to review our wood batch systems to make it more relevant. Instead, we talk about more on volunteer management, our volunteer recognitions, in order to make it even more broader, focusing on the outcome and the results. And each of our NSOs, our regions, can think of different action steps in order to achieve this specific outcome together.
So we'd still work on the wood batch, but it would be part of a broader objective, like clearly having as an outcome, like more volunteers being more empowered, better trained, better equipped with the skills they need.
Exactly, exactly.
I see. All right. So how do you see that, like working like all this library of objectives, like across the different structures? Like I heard Daiana say, like inclusive, and we have a framework. How is that actually going to work?
That links back to the section that we have earlier in this morning when we talk about the rules and planning framework. Instead, like we aim that this provide all our member organizations, every one of you here today, really to think about what you can do to achieve the triennial plan and the strategy for scouting together. And with that, like with the outcome-focused objectives, like NSOs, member organizations, regions can think of specific action items. And with that, we want to create the ownerships that this strategy for scouting and this triennial plan is not just a global plan. It's a plan for every one of us here today to make this strategy happen. And also, it also paved a very good way for future growth. As you can see, the triennial plan focusing on the outcome will really work on the objectives, where we build our organizations and build solid foundations, where we go up to achieving these objectives, we have the solid way to promote growth and also to build up the capacities of our national scout organizations.
All right, thank you. That seems like a solid way forward. So, talked a bit about how the plan came to be and how this new structure and systems will work. So let's look a bit at the what now, the content of the plan. So, it's clear there's a lot that's on the table, like 18 big objectives. Could probably spend the next 2 or 3 hours here, I think, going through all of them. So I'll just ask each of you, like, what is like, if you look at those 18, what are like 2 or so that are really close to your heart, that you feel as a World Scout Committee member, like, this is like important, I think, for the next triennium? Like, Daiana, what would that be for you?
Yeah, maybe one of the most powerful objectives for me, the ones that we really need to put all our energy knowledge, enthusiasm, is innovate education, for sure. We really need to provide very transformative learning experiences to all our young people around the world. And it's something that, I mean, it's our core business. So should be on our discussions, should be on the table, and we need to keep discussing about how we can improve in terms of providing the best educational proposal ever. We have been working a lot on these kind of things in the last reunion. We have like GPS, for example, that is a very interesting tool to review our youth programs. But now it's time also to keep thinking about, for example, the aspect of peace education or leadership development. I mean, there are like key topics that we for sure need to keep them on the table of the discussion of all the levels, because at the end of the day, it's our purpose, right? So I think that's one of the more powerful one. Another one that is more like close to my heart, to say in one way, is the one related to diversity and inclusion. We definitely need to reach out to all. I mean, all the people that are here, I'm sure that are convinced that the Scout method and what we do here in Scouting is changing the life of thousands of people around the world. So we really need to guarantee that changing experiences for everyone in all the corners of the world, for sure. Now we have, recently, we launched the report on diversity and inclusion as well. Thank you for all the countries as well that contribute with the information. I know that was a very hard work done by the team. But now we have the data, we have the information. And now in this triennial, I think we need to put the focus on how we are going to create like different actions, projects, and approach to really achieve those goals regarding the diversity inclusion, and definitely reach out to all and many parents. So yeah, the flexibility and the dynamic really need to be in our core business. And at the end of the day, is the organization that need to be adapted to fix the needs of the young people around the world. It's not the other way around. The young people don't need to adapt to ourselves. We need to be as flexible as possible to be able to adapt to their needs and to reach out the ones that are not involved in Scouting yet, but will be soon, I hope.
All right, so a focus on innovating education and on strengthening the diversity and working on a more inclusive movement. Thank you. Mori, what speaks to you? Like, what makes your heart beat faster in this objective?
Well, I would say the entire triennial plan, but if I have to choose, I think there are really two areas which I think see a lot of potential and a lot of work that we have to work on. One is, of course, on fit-for-purpose organizations. We have to continue to promote our governance practice to make sure that our organizations are fit for purpose and with good governance practices, and this is for sure critical. Another thing that I think in terms of fit for purpose organizations is definitely our financial sustainability. How can we equip our NSOs with better financial sustainability to ensure that they are also empowered in that sense? And I think there are quite a lot of things, and it's not just on the global level, but also like support on our national Scout organizations in making sure that they also have this sort of like good governance practices, financial sustainability. And one way this is more of like closing to my heart is, of course, the climate impact strategy. Like we are already in a way where we see, like we heard a lot on climate impact, on sustainability. And I think it's really the time where we focus on climate impact strategy. How do we actually make our organizations more sustainable in the long run? And these are all the things that we have to work on in the next 3 years or like even further. And another thing that really, I think during my discussions with a lot of you here today in the plenary or like in the breakout just now, is about volunteering. Like we face a lot of global trends as to how do we actually manage our volunteers. Like, do we still have space for volunteers? Why and how do we actually retain our volunteers in that sense? And to me, I think this is really important. Like, we have really good programs, like we have our educational offerings, but we also need strong volunteers to make that happen. Like whether we need to move on our volunteering model to more agile approach, or like we have to find new ways of volunteering, giving the competencies and recognizing the competencies that our volunteers are doing are all the things that we have to work on in the next few years in order to make sure that our organizations and our movement can continue to grow and to support the educational initiatives that Daiana has been talking about in order to support the delivery of all these educational offerings. And I think well, we have been talking a lot, David, but I think it's time to really ask some of your perspective. Like with a new triennial plan, what we know, we shift from like outcome-focused objectives, like we have new strategic priorities, a lot of new things. How do you actually make sure that our World Scout Bureau is actually also trying hard to collaborate with us, or like to collaborate to make sure that we can deliver the plan and deliver the strategy with Scouting?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So, yeah, from the World Scout Bureau perspective, I mean, I think we really see the new strategy also as a moment to look at the Bureau in a new way and make it ready for a new decade. And we had a lot of learnings, I think as many of you, from the pandemic. And we learned there that through the pandemic that we can support NSOs actually much quicker than we used to be, like technology, online, digital learning. But also during the pandemic we learned we can actually support easily NSOs from anywhere around the world very efficiently. And that's, I mean, when I talk to NSOs leadership, when they reach out to the Bureau, like they want basically, like what I hear from is when you reach to the Bureau as NSO, you want an answer. And you want a solution or a pointer to a certain resource. And it doesn't matter where that pointer comes from, as long as it comes efficient and in a qualitative way. And I think like, what we're thinking with the Bureau for the next 10 years is really we need to put NSOs even more central and make sure that the support we deliver is as efficient and effective as possible. So we see this basically, this new strategy as a once-in-a-generation opportunity to review and rethink the World Scout Bureau support structures. One thing I also learned when I talk to staff is we know a lot about national scout organizations. Loads of data, you send us massive amounts of surveys. We sent you too many surveys, by the way, which we want to improve. But we sit on that data, but then when staff or committee members or volunteers, they go out to national scout organizations, it often requires 3, 4 emails or chats to get all the data together. And one of the things that I think as a Bureau we need to do better is actually unlock all that knowledge much easier, available for our WUSM consultants, for our committees, for our staff. And this is something where AI can easily help us. Like we've seen like how AI can easily unlock large amounts of data, and I think we need to explore over the next years how we can much more efficiently understand the reality of our NSOs based on all the information we sit on, and then help that to inform our strategies. That, I think, is definitely something the Bureau should focus on. The other element, I think, is about our volunteers. I mean, the Bureau can only do the work through the powerful collaboration we have with hundreds, if not thousands, of volunteers around the world. And we need to make sure that those volunteer experiences, that we support them extremely well as staff, because the power of Scouting comes from, and particularly of World Scouting, comes from the diversity of volunteers we are able to leverage. So be it of volunteers collaborating with a staff member on a project to develop a resource, or together to deliver an event, or a training, or a workshop. We need to make sure all those experiences are impactful for volunteers, that they feel that they contribute to the objectives of World Scouting, but also that volunteers feel that you get something out of this, like this was really like an insight, a learning for us. So that, I think, as a Bureau, I think we're doing well, but I think there's always space for improvement. And as volunteering evolves, so should volunteering at World Scouting evolve, and it's the role of the Bureau to make sure that our support structures follow that same evolution. So summarizing, the Bureau, like at the start of a new strategy for Scouting, we're keen to innovate our structures. We want to better leverage all the information we have of you to clearly point our strategies, and to strengthen the collaboration and the volunteer support resources we have. That sort of makes sense?
Wow, it seems
Makes
like
sense,
a very ambitious plan, and also quite a lot of work for you, David, and the team.
Yeah, but I'm sure we're up to it. Like, I think we have a very good team in place, and again, with all those volunteers. But let's shift back to the plan, because we got distracted here a bit. So once the conference approves the plan, so what happens next, Daiana? Like, how will the World Scouts Committee and the Bureau take it from here, and all the feedback that comes from here? What happens, like, after
I
we
don't
leave
have
Egypt?
idea.
No
No,
idea?
I'm joking. No, well, first, we need to receive like all the feedbacks and all the comments and all the inputs from this conference. For sure, you're going to take the final decisions about how the triennial plan will look like. The next World Scout Committee and the Bureau will put in place and finalize the triennial plan, and it's going to be shared to everyone at the end of the year, more or less. So that's why all the breakout sessions are very important, because you are probably taking a lot of notes in the Padlet of all your discussions, your inputs, your comments, your feelings as well. And the committee will take all those feelings, all those comments, to create actually what we call the operational framework, right? I mean, which are all the actions, all the projects that we are going to create during the next triennium to make a reality this triennial plan. So for that, for the operational framework, and put in place the operational framework, we need volunteers. And as you know, we just launched the open call for volunteers worldwide. So again, I use this opportunity to encourage you all to promote the open call through your networks, and also involve like different and new volunteers from different corners of the world. There are a lot of talent around the world, and it would be nice to have all those talents on board to make a triennial plan a reality. After that, of course, there's going to be like a continuous monitoring and evaluation of the alignments. And then there's going to be like support from the World Scout Bureau, the volunteers as well, to give a hand to the regions, and also NSOs create like different tools and etc. to put in place and to adapt the triennial plan that we're going to approve in this conference.
One thing that I want to add here is about the collaborations with the regions. With the rules and planning framework in place, there will be a coordination group that comprises of both staff and volunteers from all the regions and on a global level, in order to work on the alignment of all the triennial plans that are coming up from the World Conference, and also like we are having 5 regional conferences later, and on how to make sure that all the plans are aligned from that perspective. So that's how we try to make sure that the strategy for scouting is well aligned, and we have all the plans ready and get go.
All right, good. I think with that, we're coming to the end of our Campfire Triennial Plan chat here. Thank you both for sharing your ideas and where you think Scouting and World Scouting should go. So really value to have your ideas, but I think what we're all looking forward is to hear your views and your thoughts about the Triennial Plan. And so we have set up another round of breakouts for this. So Mori, can you give us like a brief overview of how this is going to work?
And for now, I want all of you for attention because we are explaining the logistics for it. So now is your time to work. Before we move on to breakout again, and before we move back to the chairs, I want to give you several practical matters. One, good news, you will be going back to your original group. So you are going to spend some more time with your morning breakout groups. Same language, same number, same location. Okay? So wherever you go in the morning to discuss all these nice strategy blocks, it's time for you to go back together with their own group in the morning to really look at the details of the strategic priorities and the objectives in detail. Okay? You will have another 90 minutes to go through the activities with the facilitator. We'll go through all the objectives and the one that you pick and choose, and also to think about, and I want to challenge you to really think about what are you trying to do in your organizations in order to achieve that. There will be Padlets to capture all these action steps. As Daiana has mentioned, the next World Scout Committee will take all these actions and they will consolidate and come up with an operational framework that put all these actions after prioritization exercise into action. So your inputs are critical, and your inputs are really essential to lay the foundation for the next World Scout Committee to really work on the operational framework and the triennial plan. Remember, like several things, same group, same number, same location. Okay? So when you go out for the breakouts, look back for your teammates, your patrol, and then go back to the same breakout groups. Another thing that I want to say, there will be one additional breakout. If you want, there is one additional breakout to answer questions or like your queries about the WUSM planning framework. We have been talking about it for some time. If you have a particular questions and like issues about the WUSM planning framework, you are, let me see. You can attend this breakout at the Morinawa room at -3, okay? And there will be specific facilitations on the WUSM planning framework. All right, I think that covers all the practicalities. And I hope you are excited that we get on this new discussions on the triennial plan. And with that, a round of applause to all our panelists here today. And I hope you are all excited as we do when we embark a new journey for this new triennial plan. And with that, I will head it over to the conference chair. Thank you, Edgar.
Thank you. Thank you, Mori. Thank you, David. Thank you, Diana. Thank you so much for giving us a window into the future, and we're going to see how those discussions are going to go. So just to give you a little bit of insight, during the session, please ensure you engage actively in discussions and provide your feedback on the proposed draft resolutions. Use the Q&A feature for any questions or comments if you're participating online. There are quite a number of them. Translation services will also be available to assist non-English speakers to be able to follow properly. Before you head out to the breakouts, though, I would like to invite to the stage Farah Naga, host team spokesperson, for some logistical announcements for our international evening. Now that's exciting.
Thank you. I hope you're having an amazing day, and I hope you have an even more amazing international night. And on that topic, let me give you some instructions to answer your questions. Okay. So the location is going to be the Logistic Hotel, which is right across the Intercontinental, and the NSO support representatives are going to support you and walk with you until the venue. It's going to be on the 2nd floor in Violet Hall. For the setup, if you have equipment or anything that's not food that you want to set up, that's going to start at 3 p.m. And for the food, we'd like to have it at 6 so it can be warm, fresh, and tasty. And again, if you need any support, NSO support representatives can support you with that. For the electricity, performance, and songs, it's as you filled in the forms, so everything is ready for you to be there and to show us and represent your country. Last thing, for heavy equipment, please contact your NSO representative. They're going to help you with that with some of our amazing volunteers. Please take a second to take a picture of that, and if you still have any questions, please go to your NSO representative and they're gonna support you with anything needed. Okay, thank you and have an amazing day. Thank you.
Thank you, Farah, thank you. Thank you for continuing to take care of us. As we finish, we ask you to return all your interpretation devices at the door as you exit. Please remember to do that. And one last reminder, if you need any support outside of program hours, the SOS phone line is available for emergencies from 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. I'm going to read it out so that you can write it down somewhere if in case you need it. The number is +201 100 531 846. I'm going to do it one more time. The SOS line is +201 100 531 846. So if in case you need anything outside program hours, be sure to dial that phone and someone will be able to assist you on the other end. With this said, let's head out to our breakout areas Find our groups and begin this important work together. We will meet you back in plenary here tomorrow morning at 8:45 a.m. Make sure you enjoy the international night. Thank you so much, conference.